Good evening again. Good evening, Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District 13. This is the school board meeting for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. Don, will you do a roll call for me since we don't have a clerk, please?
Member Severson?
Here.
Member Lewis?
Here.
Member Larkin?
Here.
Member Palmer?
Here.
Member Mueller?
Here.
Member Samurai? Superintendent Kelly?
Here.
Okay, thank you, Don. Our mission statement: Columbia Heights Public Schools create worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Up first would be agenda approval, adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. First would be the approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Lorian?
Second.
Molly? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Announcements: January 15th, Monday, no school. January 16th, at 5 p.m., there'll be a school board listening session in the Family Center. January 23rd at 7 p.m., it's a Tuesday, regular school board meeting here in the community room. January 29th, it's a Monday, there's no school, it's a grading day. January 30th, Tuesday at 5:30, there'll be a school board work session. February 9th, Friday, no school in-service day. February 13th, it's Tuesday at 7 p.m., regular school board meeting. Next up would be correspondence. Superintendent Kelly, is there any correspondence?
Mr. Chair and members, there's no correspondence to talk about at this time tonight.
Thank you. Next up, communication to the board. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. I've got a couple different ones here. I'm actually going to go first. State statutes and policies that prohibit public discussion of information or specific incidents in regards to staff and students under data privacy. So please speak in general terms to prevent the need to have this conversation have to be stopped. And I'm going to be upfront and be straightforward with you. If it's anything except generalities, I'm going to stop the conversation immediately. Based on our last meeting, I allowed some latitude, asking people to steer back to generalities, and that was not successful. So if at any point any conversations or even start to lean towards staff or students, specific incidents, anything that might even come close to broaching data privacy, the conversation will stop. There won't be a, hey, get back on track kind of a coaxing tonight. So with that being said, and be looking for support from the board on that as well. Consent agenda. And the consent agenda tonight includes minutes of the December 12th school board meeting, personnel report, and a treasurer's report from November of 2017. I'd like a motion to move that forward if I could, please.
So moved.
Was that you, Laura? Thank you.
Second.
Maddie? Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next up is reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting. I believe that was December 12th. So, Maddie.
I'm trying to think back. Definitely was able to make it to the Columbia Academy musical several times. It was great. They performed Into the Woods, the first half of the feature-length film, if you've ever seen the feature-length film. the less complicated half of the film. It was great. The kids were, once again, great, and the director, Miss Lawrence, really gathered them together well as a crew and cast, and it was fun to see them do that. I was also able to attend a Rise Up breakfast at Columbia Academy, where they recognize students who are rising up on an everyday basis in their student body. They're nominated by teachers, and then they're able to attend a small breakfast with little donuts and fruit and yogurt, and receive a certificate. The most kind of fun thing about it was the teacher has to give a paragraph description of why they nominated that student. So you're able to hear the different stories of why these kids were nominated as kids who rise up, and it was really incredible to hear the varying things about that. And I was able to attend a Boosters holiday gathering, Athletic Boosters, Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters.
I love it when everybody goes first.
Yeah.
They remind me of stuff. Molly.
I also attended the Columbia Academy musical and would echo everything that Natty said. Miss Lawrence did a great job. The kids did phenomenal. Also attended some of the basketball games that are going on. They're off to a really good start, and hoping for an exciting season there. I had several conversations with many parents in our district, other board members, teachers, and Superintendent Kathy Kelly, thank you. And then I attended the organizational meeting prior to this. Sorry. There you go.
Organizational meeting.
Add that to your list, folks.
Gloria.
Call me, okay. Also was able to attend the Columbia Academy musical. Again, great job. I just really enjoyed that musical. The students did an excellent job. I attended a Columbia Academy PTO meeting, the Silver Lake Symphonic Winds holiday concert. Our community band, again, great group. It's wonderful to see parents, teachers, community members, students all playing together. So really, if you get a chance to catch that band, they do a great job. And then also had conversations with some community members, parents, and other board members, as well as the organizational meeting.
It has been a while since we've been here. I actually attended the concert, the choir concert, over at the high school yesterday, and looks like there must have been other things going on. There were a few students that, for the Highlander choir, it seemed very small, but boy, they really pulled it together. Though they were up there and they were proud. They did a good job. So it was really nice to see them being showcased, you know, when it's usually a really large group. So these students, I just, hats off. I mean, that must have been, you know, a tremendous to be out there, you know, and really having to put yourself forward. They did a wonderful job. I actually attended the organizational meeting just prior to this, and I apologize if there was something else that we did. It has been a while, and I know things got really busy right up before Christmas. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it, though.
Okay, thank you. I also attended the musical. It was phenomenal, the Boosters Holiday Gathering. I was also at the choir concert last night, and you're right, the kids did a phenomenal job. It's always fun to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations with board members, constituents, Superintendent Kelly. So that's it. Happy New Year, by the way. I'm done. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Superintendent Kelly, you're deferring your report? Okay, so we're moving on to item C, so, which is the early childhood vision card.
Chair Larkin, members of the school board, Superintendent Kelly. It's our pleasure to be here this evening to let you know how things are going in our early childhood and early childhood special education programs. I'm here this evening with Karen Kramer, who's our early childhood manager, and Marcia Walker, who is our education specialist coordinator. So, of course, all of our work is grounded in our district's mission, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creating worlds of opportunity for every learner, no matter how small, in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. Though I would say that all of our core values are reflected in our programming. I think that you'll hear in particular the first three, the emphasis on community, as we talk about some of our community engagement programs, excellence with our staff in particular, and collaboration with many organizations, but also especially between our early childhood programs and our early childhood special education department.
Okay, this talks about our ECFE and our pre-K 3s and 4s enrollment. This goes through last year, so it is, I'm going to talk a little bit about this and then about this year. Our pre-K numbers, you can see in red, are up. We have added 1 full-day classroom since last year to this year. So we have 2 full-day classrooms at Valley View and Highland. And we transport for free, and it's tuition free. So you can see our numbers rising. And they would even be going up farther for this year. And looking down at ECFE, it goes through last year. Last year we had 5 classes. This year we have 7. And all total, this looks like it goes down, but if we could see it for next year, we only have 4 openings in all 7 of those classes. So you would see a pretty large spike, I think. And even talking about adding some things for next year too, after we listen to our parents and what their needs are. So we're really happy about that. The next slide is early childhood screening. As you can see from the colors, the majority of children that we screen are 3 years old and 4 years old. We do have a few 5-year-olds. The state statute is that children are screened before they enter kindergarten. That doesn't always happen, but we really try hard. And I think with the increase in these two 3s and 4s categories, it tells us that the number for 5-year-olds is going down and the other numbers are going up, and that's a good thing because we're catching those students before kindergarten, which is so helpful for teachers when children come to kindergarten.
So we have the same strategic roadmap as the other schools, and I know that you've had some of those presentations, so I won't go into depth on this screen. You're familiar with this. But what I will go over is our scorecard. And I'm happy to say that our scorecard is very similar to last year in terms of really showing that we are within that top range for those scores. So the very first one is presence of multi-tiered interventions for academics. And that's at over 90% of our classrooms have multi-tiered interventions. One of early childhood strength really is in the differentiation of instruction that we provide for our students. A8 is the presence of multi-tiered interventions for behavior, and we work not only within our organization, but also we've done some training on trauma-informed instruction, and we work with some community partners too to address behavior and really provide strength in the behavior supports. And we are responsive classroom trained. And then we've also integrated some yoga calm techniques, which has really helped with behavior as well. A13 is about parent engagement and points of contact. We have high participation with parents, especially in ECFE, where parents come with their children. A14 is participation in early childhood programs that 40% of the children are screened by age 3. This continues to be an area that we work on with trying to get families in for screening earlier. I have a feeling that I was reversed on my screens. I'm sorry. I will go over this first one, and then we've already done the second. Okay, so A1, use of articulated standards-based curriculum. So our curriculum is, of course, standards-based. It's based on the Early Childhood Indicators of Progress, which is based on MDE. And with A2, our licensed staff actively engaged in PLCs. With the 4 questions, our PLC this year is focused on yoga calm. A3 is the use of formative student learning data to differentiate instructions, and we have data meetings with our pre-K team. The use of effective teaching strategies resulting in student engagement in learning objectives through walkthroughs. Karen and I both do the walkthroughs. So we do 5 walkthroughs with each of our teachers each year. Presence and use of 21st century learning. A new thing this year is that all of our pre-K teachers have iPads or tablets in use to capture, not only to document the assessments that they're doing, but also occasionally they'll send me videos to show it in action, the learning that's happening in the classroom. And then A6 is the percentage of evaluated teachers at the basic proficient or for non-tenured and proficient distinguished for our tenured teachers, and we just have an incredible teaching staff. This next screen I already went over first. I apologize for the inversion in my review. But as you see, the X's on the far right side with the exception of that bottom one, and that again was about the early childhood screening. When we did the scorecard, we had said that we wanted to screen a high percentage of children at the age of 3. We continue to have that issue where parents think that their children will do better if they wait to do the screening until they're older. But we really do want to see children at the age of 3 for screening. Karen?
Oh, you don't have them. I don't have them.
Oh, I've got that for you. Here you go.
Oh, sorry. It's really, we're really feeling good about where we're at with our pre-K 3s and our voluntary pre-K, which is our 4-year-olds. Our 3-year-olds, we added 3 days a week this year instead of just 2. It is packed full with a very long waiting list. Everybody wants 3 days. There are a few people who want 2, and then they see how well their children do, and then they want 3. We have a total of 4 openings in all 5 classes. So, and we have a new teacher this year, and she's phenomenal too. And they really focus that curriculum and assessment piece to build on pre-K 4s. We've worked really hard on that. And we think that we really see a difference, well, we know that we see a difference, in when we assess our 3-year-olds and then they move on to 4-year-olds. And that first assessment really shows us how important that 3-year-old year is for children. And in our 4-year-old, voluntary pre-K, we have full day and half day options at Highland. We have full day and half day at Valley View, and we have half day morning, afternoon at North Park. Our full day classes are full. So it really tells us people are really looking for more. I think it tells us that they're looking for full day. But it's rigorous. And, you always hear well, I'm not sure 4-year-olds can do that. They can, and they do. Our kids are amazing.
Why is there not a full day at North Park?
Space.
Space?
There was just one room available when we applied for the voluntary pre-K funding, and so that's why we only applied for one classroom there, because of space availability.
So based on the success of the other ones, if there was space available at North Park, there would probably have the same success with a full-day program there as well?
Yes, assuming that there would be funding for that by the state with
Right.
the voluntary pre-K.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine, thank you.
I want to plug a little bit too. Kristen talked about our PLC on Yoga Calm, but we are using those strategies in class all the way down to birth. But that mindfulness and those calming techniques, we feel starting at the pre-K level and building all the way up is really important. And all the staff is very engaged in it and loves it. And I was telling Kristen a story a little bit today about the last one that we had right before break. And I couldn't have made it better myself if I would have planned it out and done it all. So it was really awesome. And I love when I do my walkthroughs to see those strategies being put to use. So they're doing a really great job with that.
Can I flip it over?
Is that? Oh, that's the same page. Okay, so you can see we're busy. We have lots of things going on. We do have early childhood screening this week and Super Second Saturday this week. And what we find with our Super Second Saturday and our Family Center Presents, and say our Yoga Calm at the library and some of our outreach is that we're reaching families who aren't able to take a class, a set schedule class. And so we're finding that they're coming more and more We sort of dwindled a little while back, but Saturdays, we might have 40 people here. And that's huge from, about 7 years ago, that we're being able to reach those families, which I think is really important, that they are able to be involved in programming a little bit. We've talked about full-day pre-K, and the enrollment in ECFE we have phenomenal staff. They're doing a phenomenal job with home visiting, outreaching to parents, providing what parents are needing in those classes. And the community, as you can see, we have all kinds of things going on. We started last week at Circle Terrace with the building having no heat to start with, but by the time we left, it was 65. And we had a family come, and it was like 20 below. I mean, it was really cold.
Outside, it was 20 below, not in the building.
No, but it was 40 when I got there. But we had a family come, and I think that will just grow more as we go. And it was very encouraging. But we really reach out through our library collaborations. The Columbia Heights Library is fabulous, and we work really well together. And just, I guess, the importance in programming of our 3-year-old pre-K class for our 4-year-old voluntary pre-K, building to kindergarten. That curriculum and that assessment is all aligned. We have literacy done, and math is coming. So it's really exciting.
I'll hand it over to Marcia.
So one thing, when we put this presentation together that I thought of afterwards, when we had submitted it for the board packets, is that with the increase of the pre-K4 programs, we have a collaborative grant through Anoka County, and our partner is Lee Carlson, and through their peer support specialist, we've increased peer support for our pre-K4 students. So that specialist from Lee Carlson is facilitating a group at Valley View and at North Park, and will start to facilitate a group at Highland starting third quarter at the end of second semester. So that's a really exciting collaboration as well with our pre-K4 programs. That's separate from special ed. That could be for all students who have that need. But I thought that was worth mentioning when we're talking about community collaboration and excellence. I'd like to give a shout out to our early childhood special education teachers. We have a remarkable early childhood special education staff who it kind of works behind the scenes for our students and families. They're not always visible. But they are doing remarkable work for students. And as we've seen an increase in the early childhood enrollment, we've also seen an increase in our referrals for special education from birth through 5 by 20% when we compare the numbers from this year to last year. Of those referrals that we've received, about 90% of those referrals, those students are qualifying for special education services. So we are truly collaborating and providing early intervention services, which we know is best practice. So that's really exciting, the work that they're doing. Our early childhood special education teachers provide services, birth through 2 in the natural environment, which includes in the family homes, Head Start, and other community-based daycare type programs like New Horizons. Services for our older children include an inclusion model with our early childhood family education pre-K3 and pre-K4 programming, as well as center-based programming that's offered here right at the Family Center. Again, we really appreciate the collaboration with early childhood family education. I kind of feel like we've worked really hard on that, and we'll continue to grow in our collaboration as we provide worlds of opportunities for our littlest scholars.
This slide is highlighting, we have a 4-star parent-aware rating, which means it comes from the state. The rating is based on curriculum and assessment training for teachers. All of our teachers in pre-K are licensed early childhood teachers in the state, which doesn't have to be, but that's what we have, and we believe in that. And it means they have completed, you can go from 1-star to 4-star. It means that they have completed whatever the state has set out as training for curriculum and training for assessment to achieve this rating. And we do this every 2 years, so we'll be coming up in the fall next year for that. Yeah, they look at each staff person, each licensed staff person, and you have to submit documents for their training to say they have completed that, and they are very picky. So we're very proud of this.
Our SMART goal is a continuation of previous years' SMART goals, really with that alignment that Karen mentioned earlier with our curriculum assessment and instruction. So we already worked through the literacy with MDE updating the math. We are in the process of doing that. Should be done with that this year. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I think I bring this up every year, but
Yes.
I know the importance of early childhood screenings, and I just am curious as to all the ways that you're reaching out and how families can find you guys to get that done, especially with the spring coming up, so they're ready for next year.
Yeah. So we do send out postcards to let families know about it based on our census. So when we know that there are children of early childhood birth to 5 years, then we send out screening postcards to those families to ask them to contact us to set up a screening appointment. When families come in to register for our programs, we also ask about screening at that time. So those are our main ways of doing it. Head Start students are screened through Head Start. Many students are also screened at their doctor's office. Yeah,
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the Strategic Roadmap F, fiscally responsible.
There we go. Chair Larkin, school board members, and Superintendent Kelly, I'm here this evening to talk about the strategic roadmap Direction F for remaining fiscally responsible. Oops. Of course, it aligns with the mission for the Columbia Heights Public Schools to create worlds of opportunity for every learner, in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. The core values that this mainly corresponds to is, of course, community, excellence and collaboration, and integrity. The strategic direction, the focus of our times and resources, the listing from A to F. This presentation is revolving around F, to remain fiscally responsible. And this is the vision card with the weighted performance scores for that strategic direction. And I'll walk through, each slide will address each measurement individually. So the first measurement is the measurement of the unrestricted fund balance, and the target that we're measuring right now, we're at a level 5. We're at 8.3, well, I'm sorry, we're at 10.3% for fiscal year 17 for our unrestricted fund balance. And according to the strategic direction, level 5, we want to be at least at 6% or higher for our unrestricted fund balance. So that's a good direction. I know that last year at the board meeting, there were conversations about the desire to get to 10%. So we're at 10%. And the current board policy for fund balance has a goal of staying between 6 to 12% in this area. The second measurement is the annual variation of established budgets. So this is a measurement of when we come to the school board and give you a budget, and then it measures against where we actually end up at the end of the year. And so for this strategic direction, we're measuring at a level 4 again. We are, in FY17, we were 1.3% away from the budget, so we had a variance of 1.3%. And then the measurement tool, that's a level 4. So Anything between 1 and 1.5% variance is a level 4. The goal is to be less than 1%, which would be a level 5. So we've been at level 4 for the last couple years. The third measurement is budget alignment, and this measures how much of the budget is actually going directly to classrooms. So when you look at the UFARs, or the chart of accounts for education, program codes 200, 300, and 400 are where we code things that go directly to classrooms, and we're at 68.02% of the budget going to classrooms. The measurement for this area is anything over 65% is considered a level 5 and is our goal. So we are again meeting that goal for this year. The capital timeline, this is an area where we look at the capital projects and did they come in on time? Did they happen in a timely manner, and were the projects complete? Last year we were at 90%. This year we actually did get to 100%. We had a few things on the window project last year, or this past year, that were punch list items, but nothing that prevented any activities in school from happening. So we were very happy with the status of that last summer. The capital project budget, again, this is a measurement of did those projects happen within the budget that was allocated, and this summer they did all happen within the budget that was allocated. Quality of facilities, this is a measurement that's happens based on a survey each year, and I believe the survey varies from year to year, but the survey that we used this year was the survey that happened in the spring that Springstead Financial did on various topics, and the question in the survey at that time was how well the district maintains its buildings and grounds. The results of that survey had 15% at excellent, 33% at above average, and 39% at average, to give us a score of 87%. So the measurement tool, that is a level 5 in our strategic planning. The operating levy, this is a measurement of where do we stack up against other school districts of our size in the operating levy that we have in our budget. And so we looked at school districts that have between 2,700 and 3,700 students. There are 17 school districts in the state that have that size, and the median score for the operating levy, or the median dollar amount, is $611 per student. Currently, or in FY17, Columbia Heights Public Schools had $608 per student in the operating levy. So we were slightly below the median of other districts. And just for your reference, the range of the operating levy for those size districts was from $300 per student to $1,975 per student. So you can see there's quite a wide variation. 7 school districts were lower than us, or had less than the $608, and 9 school districts had more than us. The final measurement that's taken on this strategic plan is satisfaction with financial management. And again, these scores were taken from the survey that Springstead conducted last May that you've seen before at the school board. But on that survey, the question was, how well does the district manage its finances? And 6% said excellent, 24% said above average, and 44% said average, so for a total score of 74%. And the measurement that we're trying to achieve is at least 65% or more of the community members surveyed would think that we manage the district finances satisfactorily. So we are at a level 5 also for that measurement. Overall score, it hasn't changed. So last year it was a 4.6, and this year it's also a 4.6 for this area of the strategic plan. Any questions? Or
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back over item number 7, the operating levy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the score of, or the level 2.
Correct.
And the 600, the 1/2 equals 600, I'm sorry, I'm just really confused.
Okay, so the measurement level on this one, to be a level 5, we would want to be in the highest quartile of similar districts or similar sized districts. But with the median value for the 17 districts that are in that area is $611. So we're below that. And on the measurement tool that was established when the strategic plan was done, that gives it a grade of 2. So we're in the lower half of similar districts.
So based on, again, I'm sorry to summarize, so based on where we're at, we are in the lower half.
Correct.
Compared to other schools in the per student
Correct.
funding.
Funding for operating levy. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. And next would be the state and federal resolution to fully fund special education services.
Mr. Chair and members, this was first brought to our attention through MSBA and Member Vice Chair Palmer, who had a discussion about the special education cross-subsidy. And we know that in our district, that it is, right around $5 million, and which comes directly out of the general fund. And so we've asked for many years for some fairness and some parity on that. And so Director Carr will just kind of walk you through the resolutions. I'd like to recognize that our director, special education director of record is here tonight. Dr. George Holt is over there. And he has reviewed these as well. And the board does have the resolutions in front of them, I believe. Is there anything in a general sense, Director Carr, that you'd like to say before John actually reads the resolutions?
I think just in a general sense, we spoke about it a little bit last month at the board meeting, that at this current point in time, excuse me, the cross-subsidy for special education at Columbia Heights has reached over the $5 million mark. And so we just continue to see year after year that the needs don't go away, but the funding that the federal and state government have promised us has not come to be. And so as that happens, more and more of the special education services are being subsidized by general education dollars. And it's really difficult in these times to continue to provide that money when we know there are so many needs in our general education classroom. So we think these are really important resolutions to pass, to urge our state and federal legislators to really look at this and to step up and fund the mandates that they've put into legislation.
Now, as this is an information item tonight, if you have it in front of you, and John can quickly review if you'd like, otherwise you can review it for yourself. And if you have questions or comments, or would like either one of the three of us to answer any questions, or Vice Chair Palmer, you were at the delegate assembly, you were at the 916 when it was passed there and thoroughly discussed from that vantage point. If you'd like to comment, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have anything to add.
Well, I actually would like to add, as far as what the cross subsidy is. Not everybody's. I know we've tried to explain this. When we're taking money out of the general fund, it is literally coming out of the general fund. It's coming right off the top. There's various funds that are designated. They have to be spent in a certain way. That part of the general fund is where we have options. And these costs that we're paying, we are mandated to pay. You know, they are individual education plans. They are supports that these students need. We are mandated to pay them. So it is literally coming right off the top of our budget, right out of the schools. I believe that that we would probably still be doing it even if we weren't mandated. But to be able to really provide good opportunities, we really need to have better backing, especially in a district that's as small as ours. We can't, we have the benefit of collaborating with 916 to be able to provide these services. A lot of these services where we don't have to set up a special program for a small number of students, we're able to pool those resources together with a lot of districts, and that's been probably the thing that's really made us be able to be able to get through these costs. But when you have only a few students in a district our size, it's just proportionate how much we're spending on just a couple of students. And there are things that we can use in the classrooms, and, you know, I mean, they've promised that they're going to be able to put more money into the classrooms. They mandated this. They said they're going to pay this percentage, and they have not come through. So as a general rule, through 916 and through the MSBA, we're kind of taking a, let's all ask at the same time and say, you know, you promised that you were going to pay this. Please, you know, help us out here. So,
And if you look, and if I might just, this is an and
Yeah.
to Vice Chair Palmer's comments, is that in one of the pieces of data that I think is really significant, we know our cross-subsidy is right around 5 million, which has grown. I can remember maybe 5 years ago, we were at right around 3, and then it was 3.2, and then it jumped to 4, and now it's right around 5. But if you look across the state for fiscal year 2016, the cross-subsidy for school districts across the state is $679 million. That's 5.6% increase from 2015. So it is just growing. So the state resolution really addresses the governor and the legislature, and the federal addresses the president and the Congress.
that is correct.
So this, I was going to say, this resolution, when it comes back as an action item, is in essence saying that we support the fact and encourage our legislators to work to help us out with this side of things.
I would like to say that we're under a cap formula where we used to be under a reimbursement formula, where you had an expenditure and you could expect a certain percentage at least to be reimbursed. Under the new formula, there is a cap, and it's called growth limit. And this is causing all districts a great deal of regular school districts. You get this money, and it's based on your 2016 expenditures. So if we had 3 or 4 kids move in, and I can give you a good example, in the eastern part of our metro area, family moved in with 5 deaf children who had a need for an interpreter and a new deaf teacher. Where's that revenue going to come to help offset that? That's what the cap formula is doing to our districts.
Okay.
And so if I might add to that, then really what we're looking for tonight is just for you to review this. And then if you feel that it is appropriate for our board in Columbia Heights to adopt these resolutions, we would send them off to the governor and to our legislators, and we would send them off to the president and to the appropriate congressional people so that they know we're just asking for fairness on this issue. And that would be entirely up to the board to decide if you wanted to do that or not.
I know that finance is really complicated, and that's an area I've had to grow in and learn a lot about. All the formulas are so very complicated when it comes to funding of education. And so it was just helpful for me to know that cross-subsidy meant just flat out the difference between what we're given and what we actually spend. So we're spending more than $5 million in special education, right?
Oh, yes.
Do we have a number? I don't want to put you on the spot. but-
I wouldn't want to just
Yes,
ballpark that,
okay.
just because it's great. I can put something, have Director Carr put something in the superintendent's update. But the important thing about the cross-subsidy is beyond everything else that we are
Yep.
spending, and that includes the basic skills question that we had earlier. There's of all the special education formula aid, we are taking $5 million out of
Our
the
general
general fund on top of that. That is not designated for special education services.
And I think it's been stated, at least by myself previously, and not that we shouldn't be doing this, providing these services.
Yeah,
But we're
absolutely.
being told to do them
Yep.
without the funding, so they're mandated without any type of, or not without the appropriate financial assistance to do so.
For every learner, right? We want that for every
We do,
learner.
so.
In the state, and it used to be, at the federal level, the commitment was supposed to be that they would reimburse us. At one time, it was like up to 40%. This has nothing to do with what Director Holt was talking about, but, and I believe that when it was presented at AMSD, we're lucky if we see more than 15% coming in from the federal government for reimbursement. They just have never lived up to their share of the bargain at the federal level. And so we're not asking for anything more, we're just asking for what some people have committed to already. And if they can't give it to us all at once, which they probably couldn't, at least could we at least take a nod in the right direction?
So the question, I guess, tonight to the board is, are you comfortable with this coming back as an action item to pass as a resolution? Is that the direction we want to give administration?
Yes.
You okay with that?
Yeah, and I'd also add, if there's information that can be presented on how people in the community could also advocate as private citizens, how they could be a part of the solution to this too.
Good point. Okay.
Can I add one other thing, too? When we paid for the addition for Highland, we paid for that. We made payments out of the general fund. How much was that entire project?
3.2 million,
3.2 million. And we're paying that every year.
and now more.
And yes.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions or comments on that. Okay, next would be the water pipe replacement bids.
Okay. Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. One of the capital projects for this summer is to complete the high school water line project. If you remember last year, about 2/3 of the project was done, and this year we're going to complete the project. In your school board packet is an informational item only. This will come to the school board on January 23rd for action. But enclosed in the packet is the recommendation of the award letter from Hallberg Engineering, our engineering, mechanical and electrical engineering firm, to award the contract to Horwitz Mechanical. The bid tabulation is enclosed in the packet. Horwitz is the low bidder, and the total, we'd like to take the base bid plus alternate 1 and 2, and the total cost would be $304,767. The project is funded with capital levy dollars and long-term facility maintenance, and it is within the projected cost estimate for this project. This is a governance question, and it's per Minnesota statute 471.345, which is the Uniform Municipal Contracting Law, which states when you have to bid something out or do written or verbal quotes.
Any questions?
Couple questions.
Sure.
Excuse me. You said that it was within the budget. Can you remind me what the budget was for this project?
I believe the budget for the actual work and the design between the two was I think it was $330,000.
So with the budget and with the,
Contract and the design will be in the
we're
budget.
within, including the alternate 1 and 2?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. And then this contractor, the Horwitz, is that who we used to do 1 and 2?
No.
Or the part?
Last year, the contract was awarded to the low bidder of NAC, Northern Air Mechanical.
Do we have any experience with Horwitz?
I don't personally, but I know they have been used in this district before.
Okay.
We had a meeting with the building and grounds manager and Hallberg Engineering. They were both familiar with the contractor.
And they're comfortable with the contractor? Just looking at the bids just briefly here, we can look at this more going forward. I mean, they are considerably the low bid.
Yes.
So making sure that we're not just going with the low bid, but the lowest responsible bid. and
Correct.
that the vendor has the appropriate references and work history.
Right, and then as part of this, Hallberg Engineering goes back to them and talks to them and makes sure that they are going to honor this bid and do the work as specified. So they kind of walk through the whole project with them again to make sure that they've read it correctly and included everything.
Okay. So we're not looking at doing the project for the bid and then having 6 change orders that all of a sudden increase the price?
That should not happen, no?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I Thank you for that. And then up next would be upcoming capital projects.
Chair Larkin, members of the school board, and Superintendent Kelly, we wanted to just give you a presentation here. Oh, there we go. Of the upcoming summer capital projects and kind of the timeline of when you can expect to have those come to the board. So the summer capital projects, again, align with the mission of the Columbia Heights Public Schools to create worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. And in order to do that, we need adequate facilities and for our students. Of course, this involves the community excellence and collaboration. The first project we just talked about was the high school cold water repiping. The revenue stream for that will be, the majority will come through the long-term facility maintenance revenue, and the cost estimate, I did put the actual cost estimate in there since we have it right now, is the $304,767. The second project is the high school tennis courts. There's been a need to revamp those and redo the high school tennis courts. We've had quite a bit of cracking and damage in the last several years, and we tried to look at patching those again, and it is just not a job that we can patch anymore. So that project's being moved forward. The revenue stream again for that will be long-term facility maintenance. The cost estimate for this project will be $424,000. We did look at that project to, just so you're aware, right now there are some lights out there. This project will move forward without lighting at the tennis courts because it added several $100,000 more to the project. We inquired with the city to see if they wanted to partner on the project and help with those costs because mostly the lights would be used for public use, and they were unable to participate. It just didn't work in their budget. They'd already allocated funds. And then finally, the Highland Elementary new boiler system. You're all aware of the issue we had this fall where the steam pipe broke underneath the ground, and we have been working with Hallberg Engineering on possible solutions, and we are going to go forward with the recommendation to put a new boiler system in the Highland Elementary School and then cap that steam pipe. If you recall, the steam pipe is actually under part of this building, so if we would have been unfortunate and had the break in the pipe be under the building, we would have been in real trouble. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. And the cost estimate for that is $535,700. And there will actually probably be 2 boilers that will be needed to be installed in the school, one regular boiler and a backup boiler. The proposed schedules for these projects, the high school cold water repiping, the review this evening, the board action, the end of January. The tennis courts are currently out for bid, and we'll have the results back and ready for board review at February 13th, and we'll ask for action at the end of February. And then the final project for the Highland Elementary new boiler system, review and action will happen in February and March. We don't have that one nailed down yet on specific timelines.
Yes, was the new, I don't recall the new boiler being in the original capital levy.
It was not.
Okay.
And so what we've done is we had planned to do some window replacement at Valley View Elementary School this summer, and that project is being delayed for at least one more year so that we can take care of this heating system issue.
Okay, and we'll be able to, we still have the funds available in the levy to do the final projects that we were going to do?
Well, the window one will be moved out a year, and so we'll have to redo the project schedule. So this, every year in the spring when we're doing the budget, we have to look at that long-term facility maintenance project 10-year plan, and we will have to do some adjustments there and reconfigure some things.
Okay.
So I can't tell you what will be delayed, for the long
Okay.
term, but we will be looking at it again.
Okay. Boy, those windows just refuse to get done, don't they? Yes.
Just so people understand what actually happened is previously, if I understand this correctly, Highland Elementary was actually heated by a boiler system located in the high school, and the steam pipes run under the district center and through the parking lot and over to heat Highland. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So originally, when Highland was built, there was a boiler in that building, and then when the when it got old and needed to be replaced, instead of replacing it, a steam pipe was built between the two buildings because the high school boilers had the capacity to heat both buildings. And so as a measurement, probably to save costs, they built that steam pipe, and the heating plant in Highland Elementary has been serviced by the boilers at the high school. But now the steam pipe is aging and beginning to have maintenance issues. And with the addition to this building, now we have it underneath not only parking lots, but part of this building. And so instead of trying to reconfigure that, the more economical option is really to just put a boiler back in that building.
Okay, and just again, so people know, there was actually in the parking lot right out here, there was
Right over
pipe
there.
that broke and the steam was coming up. And as you said, if you could imagine that same pipe, same age, same quality at this point, moving back into here and having to make those repairs. So this is a long-term.
This is a long-term
investment.
fix, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to the
It's a
patchwork.
permanent.
Okay. I just think people, so they understand why are we putting new boilers in a school, is, to hopefully take away that potential problem of the steam pipes continuing to break. Because we had a steam pipe break on the other side
Year
over there,
before.
by the, over by the football field, and I know that was an expensive fix as well. so.
Right. The repair out here, I believe, was almost $50,000 to just get that.
In the parking lot.
The parking lot corrected.
And the steam pipe behind, when it went, was 150,000. So it adds up quickly.
Yes.
It was an emergency repair.
Absolutely, they both were.
Yeah.
What's the average life of a boiler?
I'm sorry?
The average life of a boiler?
Oh, decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other- go
One
ahead.
other question. Could we get some information prior to having to make a decision on the action items on the current participation in the tennis program? How many students are being served by that, by utilizing the tennis courts, and what kind of the vision is for that? I know we talked at a work session previously, kind of more extensively about the tennis program, but if we can maybe get a recap on that, that would be great.
Would you mind if we put that in the
In the
superintendent's
update.
update?
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up is board topics. Anybody have anything for board topics?
I have one item. Columbia Academy is hosting a principals roundtable on bully prevention on the 16th at 5:30. So I think Columbia Academy parents are encouraged to attend.
And this evening, the high school has an informational session for upcoming ninth graders on Thursday, I believe at 7 o'clock. Does anyone, is it 7?
Conferences are Thursday. I know
Conferences
that.
are Thursday at the high
Thursday, and I
school.
believe this is
High
afterwards,
school.
yes.
And they're also, for anybody that's interested in the Anoka Ramsey program and/or the upcoming next year's AP programs, there's a 7:30 meeting for what the schedule is and the forms and the things like that. So the ARCC and the AP stuff, there's a 7:30 scheduled meeting.
I'm assuming all of that information is on the website? So people
Can you
should
give
be
me
able
the
to find
date
it.
of the bullying thing one more time?
Yeah, it's the 16th, so next Tuesday at 5:30 at Columbia Academy. 5:30 to 7, I think that's scheduled.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none, meeting adjourned, 7:29.